Nothing warms my heart more than when you begin a sentence in the mushroom world. Like, here comes the Paul fact.
It's a Paul fact. Apologies to everyone who has to endure that.
This is Two Friends, Two Poems, the podcast where friends read poems to each other just to see what happens. My name is Tom. This was my idea. And we are back for a new year with a poem by Georgia poet Stephanie New, as well as some prose poems by Howie Good. And then me and Paul read ours. Man, have we missed talking about poetry. All right, let's read some friggin' poems. We have a new listener. We have two listeners, two loyal listeners now. Sean and a stranger from YouTube.
And a stranger from YouTube. Well, I've been getting a lot of comments from one of my friends in Lithuania. Let's see. She greatly enjoyed the one where we talk about naughty words.
Oh, we should do more naughty words.
Yeah. And
the one with Nelson, right?
Yeah.
Nelson's a bad influence.
Definitely.
She's
but she also said that she listens to us and finds our voices to be calming.
I'm happy to hear that.
I am too.
I mean, that's...
You know, it's funny. One of my great joys in life is actually to read to someone as they fall asleep. So maybe, if other listeners are using our podcast to fall asleep, sleep experts say 15 to 20 minutes is about how long it should take. So if you're nodding off right now, I'm happy to be with you.
Sleep well.
Sleep well.
Dream of poems.
Sweet prince.
It's great to see you, and it's great to be doing this again, for real. I've missed doing it, but in the time that we have been away from recording, I've done some reading that's been really... I found a poet that I really like that I brought today. I was given a gift card for a fantastic used bookstore here in Atlanta called Acapella Books. If they'd like to sponsor the show, that would be fantastic. There's a free shout out there for Acapella Books in Atlanta, Georgia. I recommend it. But I had a gift card. I went and I got 3 books. I got a Chuck Palahniuk book that I haven't read before, and I'm about halfway through that, and it's curling my toes. It's fantastic. And
which book is that?
It's called The Invention of Sound.
Excellent.
Yeah. So, and then I just totally at random in their poetry section at Acapella Books, I picked up this little, I guess, is this a chapbook? Little slim volume of poetry by a poet named Howie Good. When I opened it, before I even read any of it, it reminded me of the conversations we've been having about prose versus poetry, and
yeah.
And so that's what I've been playing with my own writing as well. So that's what I brought today.
And in this venue, it's pretty hard to tell if something is a prose poem or...
Yeah. Who did you bring today?
I brought a poet from Marietta, Georgia.
Woohoo!
Named Stephanie New, who I stumbled upon while looking for a Colorado poet. But amazing. The Colorado poet I found, I may come back to her, but the poem that I was really drawn to has this problem of it's definitely for the page. I just can't figure out how you would read it where it would make sense out loud or have the same impact. And that's actually pretty rare for me reading poetry, unless it's I don't know, I guess E. E. Cummings.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of his work. It's not that it makes sense on the page, but even this is like I can't really imagine that off the page. But yeah,
Mm.
Stephanie New, who is really uh, quite accomplished, a Fulbright scholar. Um, she's got several YouTube videos, a whole YouTube channel out of her reading her own poetry, and she's very insightful.
I, I I went to look up who she was, and when I saw Marietta, Georgia, yeah, that's fantastic. I can't wait
Yeah,
to take you to Marietta, Georgia.
maybe as a business we could run a instead of a celebrity sightings thing around
Mm-hmm.
Atlanta, just to
Mm-hmm.
be because I know poets would love being like doxxed.
Yeah,
Like here's
that's why
here,
you
here's your
go in. That's why you go into poetry, is for the
yeah,
paparazzi.
yeah.
Imagine that was our world.
To clarify, I don't know where Stephanie New lives. It looks like she was born in Marietta.
Yeah, who knows?
That's not the nature of my research leading into our 15-minute podcast.
Mind if I read you a poem real quick?
Yeah, love it.
This is called Lonely Planet. Sometime after midnight, I stepped into a smoky cellar bar, gave the miserable clientele the once-over, and located an empty stool toward the back. The bartender, a cigarette between his lips, was drying glasses with a dirty rag. In my beret and belted black raincoat, I might have been taken for a fugitive Trotskyite, or perhaps the assassin sent to execute him. A woman slipped onto the next stool. She had a face like that of a 13-year-old girl who died of heart failure following prolonged laughter. I am here to entertain you, she said, but only during my shift.
Mm, that's a great inauguration day one too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is Stephanie New's poem Study in Blue. In French, duck blue means green gleam of a mallard. Blue applied to steak means one layer rawer than bloody. French blue is economical, multi-purpose as dish soap. Speakers in languages without a word for blue describe the sky as having no color. I asked Pierre why blue means so many things. He said, "We don't have that many words."
That's beautiful.
Yeah, I was struck by the beauty of it too, and I decided not to think about it too hard, but
Yeah,
it struck me as beautiful and simple.
yeah.
And I do greatly enjoy with words how you can do a lot with very little.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
For instance, in The Big Lebowski, I think there's two uses of the word abide.
Mm.
One when The Big Lebowski says, "I will not abide this." And then of course the more famous one when the dude says the dude abides.
Mm-hmm.
Totally different meanings, really, and it's weird that they're the same word.
Absolutely. This is called Well, Well, Well. God arrived on the 5:15 train. I met him at the station. His hollow-cheeked face faintly resembled Julius Caesar's. As I drove him downtown to a transient hotel, he seemed absorbed in his own thoughts. He stared morosely out the window at the approaching skyline. That abominable steeple, he muttered, as a popular church came into view. I had read somewhere that he sought out quarrels, enjoyed indulging in the casual violence of a fascist thug, but he didn't seem particularly belligerent or vicious, just tired and sad. He acted, if anything, like he didn't believe he ought to exist.
Hmm.
I love imagining a sad, regretful God.
Hmm.
Like, my bad.
Yeah, yeah. imagining he ought not exist as opposed to
Mm-hmm.
everything he made.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is always the hard part of the show. Like, well,
I know, right?
now here's my stuff.
Yeah. That's why I make you do it first.
This is these plants. Your mother gave you the fiddle leaf fern when you moved into your first apartment. You've cloned it 4 times. When she died, you were given the peace lily. Its pollen is sprinkled on its leaves. The philodendron, hibiscus, jade, calathea, gifts when your son passed. They'll mostly perk back up in the sunlight. The hibiscus is root bound. The calathea would like better drainage. You've given them to me today as you struggle to walk. Your body tremors, your writing is illegible, your speech is muddled, and you gave them to someone who you know finds meaning in plants. I know what these plants mean.
I was kind of hoping you would read that. Thanks for reading that. I know I think you know what the plants mean. I think I know what the poem means. I think.
What about you? What
What
you've got
about me,
a few
Paul?
you've written.
I got a couple. I'll read a couple. And I'll see how it times out. Let's see here. So this one I did write, kind of a combination of being inspired by Howie Good and just, watching the news of the California wildfires for a week. Here we go. So this is called The Last Celebrity Interview. As the last of the flames finished their job, the only remaining celebrity stepped onto the charred porch of their mid-century modern to take questions. The last journalist dutifully took a couple of photos with their phone, a mixture of habit and hope, as the networks had all stopped working weeks ago. I have time for 2 questions, the celebrity said, unable to drop the illusion of a jam-packed calendar. This expectation setting typically fell under the purview of the celebrity's manager, who now sat silent and crispy, smoldering in a slowly swaying porch swing a few yards away. The journalist and the celebrity looked at one another, aware of the end, undaunted by the stakes. "How have you been holding up?" the journalist asked. The celebrity stuck a glance at the reflection in the living room window to make sure the facial expression communicated the right amount of sadness. "It's been tough, I had friends who lost more. I wish the heroes and prisoners fighting the fires had won, but here we are. I look forward to getting back to work." A wayward ember floated down from above, landing in the brush around the porch. "It looks like we have time for one more question," the celebrity said with a sad smile. The flames danced around the journalist as they asked the final question to be answered by the last celebrity. "So tell us, how do you balance career and family?" And this one I called Bear/Woods. As the final stage of grief subsides, the grizzly absent-mindedly licks at the blood on his paw. No one hears the sounds he's made. No one knows the pain he's felt, save anyone else who has ever stepped on something that was sharp and patiently waiting. With no thought, he's now chewing on the metal, the blood and the steel, flavors demanding consumption. Entirely by accident, with one great chomp, the trap is released as a bolt falls softly onto the forest floor. The bear looks around, his instinct responding with no direction as to what to do now. As the afternoon sunset begins to descend, he returns his paw into the trap and continues slurping. At least it's there.